I'm Randal Kleiser, and these are notes on a scene from Grease. This is the number called You're the One That I Want. When we were shooting this, we showed up that day and we had the audio track, but we had not rehearsed it at all. This is something you would normally not do, but we'd just been handed the track, and Pat Birch, the choreographer, just sort of did it in about 20 minutes. So we didn't know it was going to be a hit, although it sounded pretty cool, and everyone on the set who heard it for the first time went, wow, that is great. But the sequence itself, we were just scrambling to do it, you know.
Turn jock? That's right, I did. What are you doing?
This is a Letterman sweater that he got from running track, and the three boys here are the T-Birds, and they're dressed in their T-Bird jackets. He has shown up unexpectedly wearing this. Albert Walski was a costume designer who came up with these ideas, and more importantly came up with the idea of what Sandy's wearing. Danny Zuko has been dressed similar to the other three T-Birds in a T-Birds jacket most of the time. Kind of the 50s James Dean or Elvis Presley look. More Elvis Presley. I think he was channeling Elvis Presley in this movie because the hair, as you can see, is very much an Elvis thing, Elvis sideburns. And so here he's trying to go against it to woo Sandy. We wanted to reveal Sandy slowly, so we wanted to show the new look starting from her feet up to her face. Because if we just cut to it, it would be not as exciting. And this is something that's done an awful lot in movies, where you start with people getting out of a car, you start with their shoes and go up to their face. So this is kind of like a throwback to a whole style of revealing women. This outfit, this look that she has here, with the hair like this, and the eye makeup, and the lipstick and everything, I thought she'd be perfect for the good Sandy, but I wasn't sure if she would work out for the bad Sandy, because she just doesn't have any of these qualities in person. She came out on the set to show me how she was going to look, and she was coming at me from a distance, and she was backlit. I didn't know who it was until she got up real close, and the whole crew was going nuts over this new look of hers. Much like you see here, everybody's swarming around her like a superstar. Now, this day was very, very hot, and as you can see here, she's squinting a little bit. When we were shooting this, I noticed this, and I thought, what are we going to do about this when she starts singing? She's got to be able to perform. So I talked to the cinematographer, Bill Butler, who shot Jaws, by the way, and said, how do we help her? And said, we'll put this giant silk up, which is kind of like a sail on a ship, but in this big square, and the grips hold it up over them so that they don't have this bright sun in their face.
Sandy?
Tell me about it, Stud.
If you notice, all back here, it's all dark. And that's because this was one of the last shots we did that day. This whole musical number was done really, really fast. We didn't even get to finish it. We had to come back and do some of it in the studio because we ran out of time. But as you can see, the sun is setting behind him, and we saved his close-up for last. Well, here she's backed up by her three pink ladies, and one of the things that we came up with was the idea that she would be smoking and drop the cigarette and put it out, and she was being told by Dinah Manoff to do that. And that was something we came up on the day, just to show that these girls are helping her become a pink lady and be sexy. We did many, many, many takes to get the cigarette to land here because it kept bouncing off this way, that way, and we kept rolling and rolling and doing all these takes. And finally the prop man came up and said, hey, put a bobby pin in the cigarette and then it'll land and stay there. And that's how we got that shot.
I got chills, they're multiplying, and I'm losing control.
This is the background we chose, the Shake Shack, which seemed the most colorful part of the carnival. And it's pink ladies, T-Birds, John, Olivia, and they're coming together here. This was done in the traditional sense of musicals where normally you shoot a musical to playback and all the tracks are done ahead of time. You just did lip sync to playback. Most actors will sing along with it just to give the vocalization of their throat, but they have to be careful that they match it exactly, and there's usually someone standing right beside the camera just watching for lip sync.
You're supplying, it's electrifying.
Now, the silk is now being used. You see here how Olivia's not squinting because we have this big silk, and you can see in the background, these guys are in bright sun. She's little darker so that she doesn't squint. And here you can see the line right there of the silk. It went like that, and it was just, being held by grips off camera. These are the famous zippered pants that she was sewn into. She couldn't go to the bathroom during this day because this zipper had broken. I know that she was uncomfortable, and she didn't drink any water because she was afraid that, she'd slow down production, especially since the sun was setting. We couldn't really take the time to have her redone. This set was here. I mean, the sign was here, danger ahead, walk through, all that was there. It kind of looks tacky and run down, which I think worked okay for it. It looked very lived in. Pat just used what was there to come up with a way to give moments like him jumping off here. Just instinctual at the time. She came up with this jump and then utilized the upcoming up and down and back and forth as part of the choreography. Somehow figured that out into the song right on the spot too. This Shake Shack was sitting on the grounds of the carnival set when we arrived, and Pat and I just walked in to see where we could shoot. We walked through it and went up and down and back and forth and said, well, what could you do with this? And she went in with John and Olivia and worked for about, I'd say, 20 minutes to come up with this choreography, and it was just all improvised on the spot. This was shot with a Panavision camera with Panavision lenses, 235 lenses. And if you notice here, these are just blasting lights, arc lights shooting in because the sun was going down at this point and we were losing our day. In the back, these guys would have been in black shadows had we not lit them. And this kind of reflection is not really looking too hot, but we just had to do it that way because we were running out of time and light. When we shot this, we really wanted to go in and get some close-ups like this of the two of them to break it up because this was all in one wide master shot. And when we got our dailies back, this was the dailies. This is what we saw. And we said, we really need this. And so we called up and said, can we go back and shoot the carnival? And they said, no, sorry, it's moved on. So we had to go into the studio and try to duplicate this background here. These colors, these things here. And in the next shot, you can see that we reproduced these lines here and the colors, the yellow and the green here, so that it would match the wide shot. And this was done on the soundstage at Paramount. I don't think that the choreography works quite as well as it did in the wide shot because we were trying to match. And in those days, you didn't have video to look at and match. So we had to do it by memory and just hoping that we got, when they pushed their heads together, it matched with the choreography. This one, see, a little bumpy there. My idea for this shot, and we did an optical, which is a blow-up. I wanted to start like this, and then pull back and integrate this optical pullback with the pullback of the camera. So it would be all one slow move out, 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 out. So we did the optical, and I thought it worked, but in a musical you always want to see the feet of the dancers. So it was determined that we would use this wide shot instead. But if you imagine it, it went like this and then pulled out as they and continued the move. So it looked like all one move. These are the dancers 1 through 20, these people here. And they were with us through the whole shoot. Pat Birch came up with the idea of giving each of these dancers a name and a backstory so that they could work all the way through the picture and always be in character. So that if you watch the movie, it really looks like, instead of just background extras crossing, these people are all doing things all through it. And Pat choreographed all the background action for the whole movie, and they're all doing very specific things and having interactions as characters. These little things we saw when we were there, and the actors came up to me and said, hey, can we put our heads in here and sing a verse? And I said, sure. So that was all done on the day, too. That was not planned. Barry Pearl came up with putting the little the little head. This thing was his idea, and then the idea that he looks over and sees it as a surprise. Just, these are the type of little improvs that the actors were doing all through the picture, and really helped me because, they were always saying, what about this, what about this, what about this? And if you notice, like even back here, these are two of the dancers who had a story, a backstory, and they were coming together here. So little subtleties like that just make you feel this is a real high school and not just extras crossing in the background. And then we go right into another musical number from here. We go together where they go really nuts, running down the football field. And that was probably the toughest for the actors because it was so hot that day. But that's the end of this particular song. It's pretty extraordinary and kind of like lightning striking, you know? You can never predict when it will happen, and things fell together in a nice way. These outfits, this look has been reproduced all over the place, in other movies and in Halloween costumes and at the sing-alongs that we've had. The most exciting are the ones at the Hollywood Bowl where 17,000 fans show up dressed like this and cheer and sing along, and it's fun.